Empower People works for disadvantaged women who are victims or potential victims of violence, including domestic violence, honor crimes, killing and trafficking or other type of slavery, and provides them shelter, proper counseling, legal support and other help required. The community work involves creating awareness and conducting livelihood programs.
Good evening. I, Devanshi Goswami, welcome you all to the Empower People webinar, which is going to take place on the topic, the impact on children during COVID-19. I would like to introduce you to our insightful panelists, that is Dr. Ajay Prabhakar.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Hello,
I hope you are doing good.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. I'm doing really well.
Thank you, sir. We have Dr. Mithila Amin. Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, you're muted.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. How are you doing?
I'm good. Hope you're good.
And we have Dietitian Kirti Chugh. Good evening, ma'am. How are you doing?
Good evening, Devanshi. Thanks for having me here. I hope you are also good.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. It's really insightful to have you, everyone here. So I would like all of you to please introduce yourselves to the audience. Dr. Ajay, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm Ajay Prabhakar. To start introducing me, I'll start with my background work in United Nations. I was a country programs officer there, and we worked extensively with children and child-related programs in Africa, a bit in Asia, and also in Europe. So today's topic is so very relevant and close to me, and also because of my organization, Pioneers Nation, which is into the education of children. So, well, in a nutshell, that'll be me.
That's amazing, sir. Dietitian Kirti, ma'am, can we have you next?
Yes, thanks, Devanshi. So, as you know, I'm Dietitian Kirti. I'm working in Abbott from 2016, and I'm associated with pediatricians. I'm handling North, and I'm yoga instructor too. I'm specialized in pregnancy yoga. So, thanks, Devanshi.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Mithila, ma'am, will you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi Devanshi. This is Dr. Mithila Amin. I'm a practicing pediatrician and neonatologist from Chandrajyoti Hospital, Mumbai. And yes, this topic is close to me because when it comes to childcare, it's definitely something very close to my heart. So hopefully we could add something to all the viewers, all three of us.
Yes, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you here. So I'll start the discussion now. We'll be discussing about the role and the importance that COVID-19 has impacted the children during this pandemic era. So I would like you guys to please introduce your topic. So like you guys introduce, how do you think COVID has impacted the children? Mithila ma'am, can we have you first?
So, COVID-19 has impacted all of us, we know that, but children are not left to. Okay, directly, if we see just the mortality and things like that, comparatively, the child mortality has been lower in case of the pediatric population, but nevertheless, indirectly, there has been a very great impact. Be it the nutrition thing where children are getting malnourished because of the lack of so much of availability of resources, or be it the the stress which they are going through because they have to stay restrained in the four walls of their home, or be it less availability of healthcare services. That's basically everything is available, but the accessibility has become an issue. So somewhere or the other, the health system in the pediatric care has been affected to a very great extent with COVID-19. there are different aspects to it, but I guess in this short half an hour talk, I would stick to the health thing related to the impact of COVID on children.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, would you like to add something to it?
Uh, yes, like I would come in from the angle of how children are being affected by COVID all across the world. It's grave, I would say, apart from the social distancing, which has brought in them a great amount of distance between friends, between even children who used to see each other, maybe playing, maybe having that emotional bonding. I would come in also and would like to highlight the aspect of the emotional quotient aspect of it, really. The social distancing has not only distanced us as human beings, but for children, it has been like something which they cannot understand, especially the younger lot. The younger lot, I mean, as older children, you can always sit them down and talk to them about why some things are happening the way things are happening. But the younger lot, they don't seem to understand why they can't go to the garden, or why they can't shake hands, why they can't hug their cousins, or even take small little walks, or go to the maybe go to a place where they used to frequent before. So it's kind of really it's really taxing for them in many ways. Learning is a big thing, which I would, since I come in also from the educational field, I would like to also highlight the aspect of pandemic on education as well. It has really taken a beating. Also, especially highlighting girl education, which we were trying to build up in all these years, has crumbled and has really gone to the drain, I would say. All the effort that whether before in the United Nations for where we were putting, and all so many other agencies are doing some wonderful work all across the world. All of it has taken like a beating and has gone back about 5 to 10 years, really. It has really affected, and not only girl education, because as Dr. Amin was also talking about nutrition, how nutrition is affected, how girl child nutrition is affected. Also, abuse of girl children, whether it's physical abuse, whether any other aspect like of abuse, which is drawn in like domestic abuse, which is seeped in really. So all of these are people might dismiss it as just a pandemic, but it has really left a scar on many of these developmental aspects that we are trying to build, not only here but all across the world, especially in Africa and places wherein like resources are hard to find, and when we have things like this happening, everything else takes a back seat, and then the treatment and care has to take a front seat. So that is one aspect which I would like to highlight through this forum.
Yes, sir. I completely agree, sir. Is there anything that Kirti ma'am you would like to add?
Yes, I'm agreed to Mithila ma'am and Prabhakar sir, because if I talk about 24 hours का cycle, like sir said कि nutritional part, हम देखें so now child is like shows lots of tantrums because parents are not allowing them to go outside, not even a few steps. So they show tantrums, they sometimes they feel like cranky, and parents are like, because they are already disturbed because of financial part, emotional part, so sometimes parents show their angerness to their child. So in that case their nutritional part is also affect directly or indirectly, because पेरेंट्स से जब लड़ाई होगा, थोड़ा सा वो पेरेंट्स का भी कुछ झगड़ा होगा, तो वो गुस्सा बच्चे पे निकलेगा, सो बच्चा लाइक मुझे नहीं खाना. सो यहाँ देखते हैं हाइट, वेट एंड न्यूट्रिशनल डेफिशिएंसी, इम्यूनिटी impacts. This is a vicious cycle, so impacts directly or indirectly. So I'll talk about this nutritional part in this forum.
Thank you, ma'am. So
Welcome.
whenever we are considering the impact of COVID-19 on children, the first thing that comes to our mind is the school education that has been affected. The children in kindergarten are attending online classes. So what do you guys think about them getting their nutrition, their patterns of physical health, because they cannot go out and play? Also, it's mentally affecting their parents, because it's the parents who have to make them sit in front of the online cameras and make them attentive throughout. And also their mental health, about the children's mental health, being spending more time in front of screens and less time with their friends, or socialization with different children or different age groups. So what are your views on it? Prabhakar sir, we'll start with you.
As we discussed and we talked before, like the younger children, as you rightly mentioned, like it's a grave U-turn, because they're just entering into the fold of education, the gate of education. They are not used to really formalized education in the sense of sitting down, wearing uniforms, or attending long spans of classes. Talk less of having a screen, which is not even physical, which for them is same like a television, which is very virtual, which is not real. Education for me is something which is flesh and blood, which is real. Apart from the virtual part, I'm just not writing it away, but it's also real, like in the sense of seeing a person talk to them, uh, a teacher who talks to them, who trains them, who also shows them the way. It's also a lot of hand holding. So it's so many things together which today's children are missing out on. So when a child sees a person on a screen and greets the person, there's that disconnect. You can instantly see that disconnect, because the child, the same kind of attentiveness or the attention span is not there, because the person appears very virtual to the child. At the same time, you can see a lot of anxiety in learning. The children don't want to focus because, again, as I said, it's virtual. A lot of fears have seeped in, because the child is not able to experience what a child would experience probably going to the school physically. The child is not able to experience now, because the child is not stepping out of the house. And this is small children. For older children, we have frustration seeping in, really. We have like a lot of these things happening, like as I said, domestic abuse is happening. A lot of as human beings are social beings. We are not used to being caged, being put in a place. But the pandemic has just been able to successfully do that, in fact. So what we have our frustration as parents, but when this frustration becomes too much, we pass it on to children. So it comes in front as probably yelling, shouting, maybe even debating a lot, a lot of anxious remarks, which translates into a lot of anger. A byproduct is anger. Uh, Extreme would be depression, not able to reason, because even as you rightly highlighted, like a lot of talk time is also being reduced, because parents want to be sure children are being monitored, and everything is being done the right way, which they are not used to. So they feel a lot of monitoring happening on them, a lot of frustration being transferred. So other fears creep in, like especially like in the segment of 6 to 10 years, and this is all study which says so, like bedwetting starts creeping in, things which they were not used to, like also comes in, uh, like fears of going into the dark when the child was not even like thinking about it before. Uh, those kind of fears, those kind of things, because another important aspect is in this pandemic, the so-called enemy is also not seen, is invisible. So I mean, we fail to understand how it happens. So they, I mean, are a step away as far as understanding is concerned. They're just learning to understand. So I mean, it's a lot for them to handle. So these are the things like we see all across. It's just not in India, all across the world. It's happening. So this is one grave impact, I would say, which is happening, especially the psychological or the emotional aspect, which in the long run also affects the education of the child, because if the container is not okay, then the content which is being poured in the container becomes a big problem, because no content can enter into the container. It's like a glass which is full. or full of other negative ideas, negative predisposition. So nothing can enter into that glass. So a child is just like a glass which is full of other negative things now. Education would take the third or the fourth stage, in fact, to even get near a child. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree. The transition on in the parenting styles that have taken place and the type of socialization that the children are going through is a lot for them. And it's not only the younger children who are suffering, it's also the older children who are suffering from the same problems such as anxiety and depression. Kirti ma'am, would you like to highlight some nutritional aspects of the same problem?
See, in starting time, if I talk about toldest time period, now children start. It's a starting time. In last year की बच्चों का admission होना है, so now they are bound to stay at home. So इसमें क्या होता है कि 24 आवर्स का रिसाइकिल उनका जैसे लाइक सर सेट कि वो यूनिफॉर्म का टाइम पीरियड होता है कि पता होता है टिफिन टाइम एवरीथिंग. नाउ मदर हैज टू सिट ऑल द टाइम व्हेन चाइल्ड इज टेकिंग देयर क्लासेस. सो दे और लाइक कि मम्मा पूरे टाइम मेरे पास ही होती है. मम्मा इज लाइक अच्छा तुम ठीक से नहीं कर रहे, तुम ऐसे नहीं कर रहे, बिकॉज मदर को वो भी होता है ओके मेरे को ब्रेकफास्ट भी बनाना है, उसके बाद मुझे बच्चे को भी देना है, ओके ना मेरे को बच्चे के साथ पूरा टाइम टिल 12 तक मुझे बैठना भी है. सो बच्चा इज लाइक बाउंड. वहां पर क्या होता है व्हेन चाइल्ड गोज टू द स्कूल ना कॉम्पिटिटिव एक सराउंडिंग्स मिलती हैं. दे गॉट बिकॉज इन स्टार्टिंग टाइम पीरियड बच्चा इज लाइक ओनली इमिटेट. उससे देखा ओके वो ऐसा कर रहा है तो मैं उससे सीखूंगा. नाउ इज लाइक फादर आप ऐसे बैठो, ओके फिंगर ऑन योर लिप्स, आई एम वर्किंग, मेरा भी वर्क फ्रॉम होम चल रहा है. सो टोटल इन्वायरमेंट इज लाइक बच्चे के लिए इन स्टार्टिंग टाइम इज लाइक क्या हो रहा है, अभी उसने बोलना ही सीखा है, ओके अभी अब तुम चुप हो जाओ, अच्छा तुम ऐसे बोलो, अच्छा तुम ऐसे करो, ये ड्राइंग्स हैं ऐसे एवरीथिंग. सो इफ आई टॉक अबाउट नाउ न्यूट्रिशनल टाइम पीरियड ना बिकॉज ऑफ दिस अगर बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रेस हो इट कैन लीड टू द कॉन्स्टिपेशन बिकॉज बच्चा नहीं खा रहा है, बिकॉज वो ऑल द टाइम इरिटेटेड रहता है, वो लिक्विड इनटेक उसका कम रहता है, या उससे क्या होता है उसका बिकॉज फिजिकल एक्टिविटी नहीं है. और पेरेंट्स बिकॉज जनरली आजकल देखा जाता है हमारी सराउंडिंग parents are working, they both are doing work from home, तो physical activity नहीं है उनका बच्चों का. So because of that उनका जो weight for height होता है वो भी कम हो रहा है. because as I said कि मैं एसोसिएटेड विद पीडियाट्रिशियन, तो मेरे पास बहुत सारे कॉल्स आते हैं मैम बच्चा खा ही नहीं रहा है, सो वो फसी ईटर हो गया है, मैम ये कब खत्म होगा. So now first I want to say here कि first accept this because we don't even know, nobody can say कि अभी क्या होने वाला है नेक्स्ट, कब स्कूल्स ओपन होंगे. सो वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस कि वी ऑल शुड फिक्स द टाइमिंग्स of wake up time, liquid time, and first we mothers, parents को सबसे ज्यादा mothers को मैं बोलूँगी उनकी काउंसलिंग होनी चाहिए बिकॉज सबसे ज्यादा mothers उनके साथ रहती हैं. सो जो आप खाओगे वही वो खाएगा. नाउ आई हैव सीन मदर सेज कि मेरा बच्चा चाय पीता है, सो अगर मैं उनको बोलती हूँ आप टी मत दो, सो अगर वो बच्चा बोलता है कि नहीं आप भी तो पीते हो आप मुझे क्यों दे रहे हो. सो बच्चे को पॉजिटिवली सब कुछ दिखाना है, सिखाना है कि क्या है. इस टाइम पे आप बहुत सारी चीजें क्रिएट कर सकते हो. सो सारे अभी जैसे वेदर अभी चेंज हो रहा है, सो जनरली ये पीक टाइम होता है बच्चों के लिए कोल्ड कफ अभी रहने का. सो उनको प्रॉपर हर तरीके का 5 ग्रुप्स जो मील्स हैं हमारे उनको पता होने चाहिए. हमारे पल्सेस क्या हैं, हमारी वेजिटेबल्स क्या हैं, हमारे फ्रूट्स क्या हैं, हमारे ग्रेन्स क्या हैं, एवरीथिंग. उनको लिक्विड का इंपॉर्टेंस बिकॉज जनरली पहले क्या होता था मदर पेरेंट्स टाइम नहीं दे सकते थे बिफोर दिस लॉकडाउन और आई शुड से पैंडेमिक. सो अभी दिस इज द हाई टाइम, आपके पास एक अपॉर्चुनिटी है पेरेंट्स के साथ एक इमोशनल एक बॉन्ड बनाने की बच्चों के साथ. सो दे कैन क्रिएट सो हैप्पीली एनवायरमेंट. जो पहले होता था कि एक टेबल टाइम क्रिएट नहीं हो सकता था बिकॉज इफ आई से पेरेंट्स से कि हमारे पास टाइम नहीं है, बट होम इवन आई एम डूइंग वर्क फ्रॉम होम, सो आई कैन से कि हमें भी एक हाफ एन आवर का 20 मिनट्स का ब्रेक मिलता है. सो यू कैन क्रिएट दैट टेबल टाइम्स, यू कैन सिट विद योर चाइल्ड एंड टीच कि ओके ये सब है हम लोग खा रहे हैं. वो नहीं खाएगा बट योर चाइल्ड विल ऑब्जर्व यू, ओके पेरेंट्स ऐसे खाते हैं, ओके यू कैन से अगर फिजिकल एक्टिविटी नहीं है यू कैन टीच. वो भी गिराएगा, टैंट्रम्स होंगे, क्रैंकी होगा, समटाइम्स प्लेट गिर भी जाएगा, बट डोंट हिट or scold your child because वो already cranky है, उसका पूरा bound हो चुका है. So teach, ये बहुत सारी positive हैं, आप उसको सिखाओगे तो I think ये बहुत सारी negative भी है, तो positive चीजें भी हैं इसमें. आप इसमें learning and skills के साथ combination बना करके बहुत सारी चीजें अपने child के अंदर develop करवाई जा सकती हैं.
Thank you, Kirti ma'am. I absolutely agree. Mithila ma'am, as Kirti ma'am and sir rightly pointed out, that during this time of COVID-19, we have focused on social distancing when we had to focus on only physical distancing of the child, which has resulted in different socialization patterns of the child, and also they don't know how to talk to another child, especially if if there's a single child in the home. That child doesn't know how to contact different children of his age, of maybe higher age. So, what would you like to say about this?
So virtual interaction is very important. So even if they are not physically interacting, because it's dangerous right now, so virtual interaction within the families with their peers should be there. And two things I want to focus here, that when we said about the education system right now, where we have online classes, and that actually makes the children spend more time in front of the screen. So what we get is many people with, say, computer vision syndrome and all those kind of things. So a quick solution, I could say a tip for all the parents who are sitting in front of the screen and all the children who are being made to sit in front of the screen. There is something called as rule of 2020, where for after every 20 minutes, make sure that the child is looking at a distance of 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds. So this kind of break can be given. You could set alarms or something. Your vision is very precious. Your child's vision is very precious. So that thing should be taken care of. And as rightly said by Dr. Kirti, that physical activity, that is less. If the child doesn't do physical activity, obviously the nutrition is going to be altered. So according to this WHO guidelines, any child has a specific amount of time to be dedicated to this physical activities. So if it is infant, it is around 30 minutes at least. Now you'll ask that how a small baby can be made to do a physical activity. What I could give you is a simple example. You can ask the mother to give some tummy time for the baby, where the baby is put on the tummy and the baby makes attempt to come up or something. In that phase, it actually has a good physical activity for itself. This 30 minutes has not to be going on together. It should be divided into, say, 6 sessions of 5 minutes or something as such. So this is for the infants. When it comes to the age group of toddlers from 1 to 3 years, at least 120 to 180 minutes, that is 2 to 3 hours of physical activity is required. So make sure your child is getting that too. And those between 3 years to 8 years, again a 180 minutes, so 3 hours. Keep it for playing. Let them play at home. Get a skipping rope. Get anything. Get a draw something. Let them do any kind of physical activity, maybe in their home itself, or in the terrace, or somewhere near in the society ground itself. But make sure that is going on to ensure health. So this will also make sure that the mental health is also in balance. And same as for the adolescents or those above 8 to 18 years, they require at least 60 minutes of physical activity. So parents take home, keep some time for this, not only the online classes. And when the classes are going on, keep a 20 minutes break. I think the teachers also should implement that. I think Dr. Ajay could actually make such kind of implementations for schools, that there is a 20-minute break alarm or something, so that they are actually proactively made to exercise their eyes or vision and change the stare in class.
Yes, ma'am. I completely agree. So, whenever we are talking about COVID-19, the first thing that comes into our mind is infection. So, we know how the adults are handling the infection. They have already seen many diseases before, also, maybe some fevers, typhoid, jaundice, any disease that we can think of. But the children are new to the environment of diseases. And the pandemic in itself is a very great deal that is happening since 2 years, and we don't know if it's still gonna get okay or not. So, how can you say that if there are parents in the home who are COVID positive, how can the child be made to maintain that isolation and quarantine when the parents are positive? Mithila ma'am, we'll start with you.
So in the instance where the parents are positive and the child is negative, It all depends upon the severity of the disease. If the parents are having a mild to moderate disease where they are advised to home quarantine, then they can take care of the child. But with high level of sanitization, with high level of respiratory hygiene and the hand hygiene which they have to follow. There could be instance where the child is positive and the parent is the both the parents are negative. In that cases also the child, be it in the hospital or in the home setup, can have a caretaker, any of the parent to be one of the caretaker. But again, here they have to take care of all this kind of measures, especially social distancing and mask prophylaxis, etc. And there could be an instance where both of them are positive. So again, then it's not an issue. The parent will be with the child. There could be cases where the parent is severely ill. Okay, so then somewhere suffering from moderate to severe illnesses. In that case, they might have to get hospitalized. In this is the point where the role of caretaker comes. So it is good to always pre-decide a caretaker. It could be anyone in the family. It could be someone in your neighborhood. It could be a professional caretaker, but a pre-decided thing is important because we don't know who's going to get infected with that disease, and now we know how unpredictable it has been. So it's better to have a caretaker. What you have to remember while deciding the caretaker is that they cannot be the grandparents, because children are going to be super spreaders, as well as this infection is going to be more of a risk to the grands. So yeah, if the parents are sick, the common thing they just put their child with the grandparent because they've been comfortable with them. Here you would have to avoid that. This is something you have to take into consideration. Many times I do get a question that the mother is feeding the baby and the mother turns out to be COVID positive. Do I still continue feeding or I switch over to alternative feeding methodology? So here I would like to mention that breastfeeding is not a contraindication. Most of the times the spread is airborne or fomite to fomite, so therefore it is never going to be transmitted through the breast milk. On the contrary, the breast milk will have more what we say benefits over stopping it and switching over to some other complementary feeding or top feed. So those even positive have to continue, but because the proximity is close, make sure you have an N95 mask and you keep hand hygiene, etc. When you're feeding the baby.
Yes, Mithila ma'am, that's absolutely right. Kirti ma'am, is there any nutritional diet that the child should follow if the child is detected to be COVID positive?
सी अभी तक ऐसा कोई पर्टिकुलर डाइट नहीं आया है एज आई सेट कि हमें पूरा 24 आवर्स का जो हमारा डाइटरी पैटर्न है वो फॉलो करना चाहिए, स्मॉल एंड फ्रीक्वेंट मील्स, बट हमारे को लिक्विड्स को भी ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। अगर लिक्विड नहीं है सो ऑब्वियस है कि जो हमारा फूड है इट्स काइंड ऑफ अ वर्क लाइक हमारा झाड़ू का काम करता है बिकॉज फाइबर जाता है एंड आपका लिक्विड है इट्स काइंड ऑफ अ वाटर पोछा कर काम करता है। सो वी बोथ हैव टू इंक्लूड दिस। और हमें फ्रूट्स भी हमें मतलब फर्स्ट हमारा मील हमारा हैवी होना चाहिए, देन हमारा मिड मील बच्चे को फ्रूट्स देना चाहिए। अगर वो क्रैंकी है डोंट फोर्स योर चाइल्ड टू ईट बिकॉज वो ऑलरेडी वो बहुत सारी चीज़ों से अभी गुजर रहा है। सो बेटर उसको डिफरेंट डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स एंड शेप्स में आप कर सकते हो, आप कस्टर्ड की फॉर्म में दे सकते हो, किसी भी फॉर्म में आप क्रिएटिव वे में आप करके दे सकते हो। देन लंच तो अगर वो लगता है कि वो चपाती, बिकॉज समटाइम्स क्या होता है अगर वो 2 to 5 की एज में जनरली चाइल्ड फील्स की उसको चबाने में दिक्कत है, वो चबाता नहीं है समटाइम्स बिकॉज अभी टोटली स्क्रीन टाइम हो गया, विदाउट स्क्रीन नहीं खाता है। तो आप उसको बहुत सारी डिफरेंट आप सेमी लिक्विड की फॉर्म में दे सकते हो, आप चीलाज उसको बना करके दे सकते हो डिफरेंट, आप प्रोटीन, आप दाल का चीला, डोसा, इडलीज के आप कलर चेंज कर सकते हो। आप बीटरूट, बिकॉज जनरली क्या होता है बीटरूट इज हार्ड, तो आप बीटरूट को आप इडली की फॉर्म में आप उसको कन्वर्ट करके आप उसमें दे सकते हो। देयर आर लॉट्स ऑफ थिंग्स बिकॉज आजकल तो यूट्यूब है, बहुत सारी डाइटिशियंस इस पे वर्क कर रही हैं। सो यू कैन मदर कैन वॉच द वीडियोज एंड क्रिएट द fantastic and delicious recipes to watch that videos and then post and थोड़ा थोड़ा उसको करके देखो। एंड दिस इज द फैंटास्टिक वे बिकॉज हॉस्पिटल्स में भी जनरली क्या होता है मदर बच्चे ने सुबह खाया उसके बाद 4 आवर्स का गैप, और जनरली आई हैव सीन कि इसकी वजह से बच्चे ओबेसिटी पे भी कन्वर्ट हो रहे हैं। नहीं खाया छोड़ दो, अच्छा देन ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स सेज कि ओके वो बिस्किट्स ही खा रहे हैं खाने दो, सो हमें ये नहीं पता कि हम एक आलू का पराठा खा रहे हैं तो दैट इज फार बेटर, उसमें हमारा 230 कैलोरीज है, एंड वो बच्चा 3 बिस्किट भी खाता है, ओरियो के बिस्किट्स भी खा रहा है, तो इट्स अराउंड गिव्स 400 कैलोरीज. सो आलू पराठा इज फार बेटर देन योर ओरियो बिस्किट्स. सो हेल्दी ऑप्शंस को चूज करें, वो घर के ही हो. एंड आई हैव सीन कि जो अभी वर्क फ्रॉम होम चल रहा है, सो मदर डज कि जितने भी रेडीमेड पैकेट्स आते हैं वाटर में डाला, बना और वो दे दिया, बट मदर एंड पेरेंट डजंट नो कि उसमें कितना कैलोरीज एंड प्रिजर्वेटिव्स एडेड हैं उसको, उसकी शेल्फ लाइफ इंक्रीज करने के लिए. सो दिस कैन ऑल्सो लीड टू ओबेसिटी. सो नेचुरल वे में अपना अपना 5 ग्रुप्स इंक्लूड करें, पैटर्न फिक्स करें, लेट नाइट डिनर नहीं करें. ऑल न्यूट्रिएंट्स अगर आप टोटली अपने 5 ग्रुप्स को इंक्लूड करोगे, सो देयर इज नो नीड टू ऐड एनी सप्लीमेंट. सप्लीमेंट्स हमेशा तब ऐड करें when your child is deficient in particular nutrient or vitamin or in macro like protein deficient, or if doctor feels कि नहीं आपका बच्चा बहुत ज़्यादा severe underweight है, so doctor ask from your doctor कि क्या मेरे को कोई supplement ऐड करने की need है, और ask from your dietitian. So if doctor dietitian then add, otherwise your food groups are major, ऑल गुड. सो आप उसे कैलकुलेटिव वे में उसको देंगे और डॉक्टर डाइटिशियन की हेल्प करेंगे, आई थिंक वो टोटली आपको हेल्प करेंगे, चाइल्ड की डेवलपमेंट और एनी डिजीज उसमें हेल्प करेगा आपको.
I agree, ma'am. So there are many aspects to when we come on the impact on children during COVID. And one of the aspects that has currently come into news and social media is the children who have lost their parents due to COVID-19. So those children are being spread over on Instagram, on maybe Twitter, LinkedIn, different social media sites for adoption, which is not legal. So what would you like to say on this situation, Dr. Prabhakar?
It's unfortunate. First of all, such things are happening. In some countries or in some places, it's better to follow state procedures, government regulations, whatever rules and regulations are set by the state government or the central government, or the state laws, whatever they have. It's better to follow them. First of all, I would like to appeal to both parents, I know a child is precious. A child is a gift. He or she is always a blessing. But to also follow these procedures, uh, there are so many things happening, and the time span would be so less to highlight and talk about all those things which are happening. I would appeal to all human beings to first be a human being, not to make a mockery of the pandemic themselves, the situations around us, because you cannot say what will happen next, as Dr. Chugh or Dr. Amin was talking about. There are so many different things which are happening. So let's not. First of all, let's be human. First of all, let's really look at things the way they are. Let's not make a mockery of things which are in place, whether it's rules and regulations. Let's not try to put in some kind of let's not plug holes and try to do something out of the way. So that's one important thing. Wherever rules and regulations are followed, wherever protocols are being followed, such children, I also feel, looking at it the other way, they also need support. It's great that the government is also coming up with different schemes of education being provided to such children. We also commend different organizations and bodies which are coming up with different, relief for such children, because it's not really easy. The bereavement, first of all, losing a parent or parents, uh, it's not easy. It sets in a child a whole cycle, and it's just not a wound which goes off like just now. It's a scar which remains throughout life. It affects the child emotionally to express, especially in boys. It's seen as anger, being a very aggressive person throughout his life, not just now. Because what happens is, an adult or a older person would have a kind of time frame to relieve the loss, to to maybe lessen or maybe dilute the loss. But a child takes a really long time because it remains with the child, and the younger the child, as with different age groups, the older children are better off because they kind of understand, like, or they tend to at least acknowledge and be part of such a process. But younger children, they don't understand. The younger the child, the child doesn't understand, and it is as if like death is something which is a third party, or it can happen to someone or something else, not to them or their near ones. So it's really hard, and you would see such children really growing to be emotionally insensitive, aggressive, depressive, or easily going into depression. These are all offshoots of something which, if not handled now in a very sensitive manner, uh, which if not really handled on a one-on-one basis, sitting with the child, counseling the child, listening more. In fact, rather than just telling children, it is very important to listen to the child as to what the child has to say, what the child has to contribute, and to let that sadness or anxiety or sense of loss, little by little, let the child express. It's very key, because if the thing stays, what happens is all the things that I highlighted before, and it comes, it is like a intermittent, effect, which goes on, and affects even his or her normal life later, later into adulthood. So these are things which we should really take care, and you know which we should have in mind. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So there are many agencies that are working for the such kind of children. Like there are child welfare committees, then there are district magistrates offices, then there are state and central schemes, and then there is also the child line, that is 1098, for the children who are in the need of care and protection. Another question that I had in mind is that whenever we are talking about COVID, vaccination is now coming to play a very great role, and there are studies which are saying that if third wave of corona comes, then it will majorly affect the children. So Mithila ma'am, what would you like to say about vaccination?
Yeah, so as of now, we do not have COVID vaccines available for children, but we know that there are studies going on in many of the companies. Biotech is in phase 3 for Covaxin, and Pfizer and AstraZeneca are also going on with their studies. So, what the task force of pediatrics has actually told is you try to protect your child from the mimics of corona. So, they include all these fever causing infectious diseases to make sure that the child or whoever is due for vaccination is not avoiding that vaccination just because this is the pandemic going on. Because wherever services for vaccinations are available, they should be going and taking their vaccinations timely so that these mimics of corona are taken care of. And especially in this task force, they have mentioned that everyone should be taking their influenza shot at least. Especially this is the time, the monsoon time, where it's more going to be effective or advisable for the child to take it if they've not taken it for this year. It's a yearly shot. So initially, if the child is taking it, they have to be given 2 shots 1 month apart, and it can be given for any child above 6 months of age. So this thing could be taken care of when it comes to vaccination. Another common question on vaccination I normally get is, can lactating mothers take vaccination, or after taking the vaccination, can they continue to feed their child? Now, till 19th of May, there was less amount of studies, and so it was actually contraindicated for lactating mothers. But thereafter, uh, we have seen that it has not harmed any of the lactating mothers. In fact, there are potential benefits because the antibodies are even transmitted to the child. So, hence, lactating mothers can take the vaccine safely. So, we could go ahead. So this was a short thing. Of course, we could have many things on vaccination, but as of now, I think these things would be important to take home.
Yes, ma'am. I surely agree. So I think our audience is really having interest in this insightful discussion, and there are some questions by the audience that we are going to take now. So can we have the question, please? So the first question is by Ashok Bose. He's asking, how do I protect my children if a family member tests positive for COVID-19? Kirti ma'am, would you like to take the question?
Yes. As Mithila ma'am said, कि you can hire a caretaker from outside. और अगर फैमिली मेंबर से पेरेंट में से एक भी अगर पॉजिटिव है तो दैट पर्सन हैज टू बी क्वारंटाइन सो अदर पेरेंट कैन हैंडल देयर चिल्ड्रन वो प्रॉपर से कर सकता है अदरवाइज यू कैन हायर अ केयर टेकर फ्रॉम आउटसाइड बिकॉज ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स के लिए क्वाइट टफ बिकॉज इस टाइम बहुत ज्यादा टेंट्रम्स हैं उनके बहुत ज्यादा क्रैंकी है फसी ईटर है सो बिकॉज अभी इतना एनर्जी नहीं है ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स में दे कैन हैंडल ईच एंड एवरी द टेंट्रम एंड फसी ईटर पार्ट and nutritional part or their physical activity so they should hire a caretaker.
Yes ma'am, I completely agree. I hope Ashok sir has got answer to his question. Can we have the next question?
I just add one thing to that? Sorry,
Yes
just
ma'am,
one thing
yes
that,
surely.
yeah, if anyone tests positive, just make sure that all the family members are screened, the child included. So that is one thing they have to do. So diagnosis becomes, see, protection is basically if you have a timely diagnosis, it's going to be helping in protection. Secondly, yes, it is great to have a caretaker and it is great to have someone else. But in case, like, in the society we live in, we have people from all different strata. If you cannot manage, as I said, if the parent is positive, you may still take care of the child. If you are in the mild to moderate grade and you're not asked to be hospitalized, you're at home only, just make sure that you are following strict sanitizations. That's one thing I would want to add. That's it. Otherwise, rightly
That's
said by Dr. Kirti.
that's very rightly said, ma'am. Can we have our next question? So Prateek Anand is asking, the main fear on children in these hard times is the thought of losing their parents to COVID after seeing doomsday news, which eventually leads to depression and anxiety. How can this be managed? Prabhakar sir, would you like to take the question?
Yes. Um it's a very relevant and it's a very important question because children, as I said, they become they're so scared. They are so they develop this anxiety, this fear of things which were not even like anything before. So this is very critical. And how do we address it? How do we take care? First of all, now I would like to use the adage that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. Very important is, as one of the doctors with me in this panel said, to engage. First of all, we need to engage our children in constructive, fruitful activities. It could be setting up a pattern. It could be a routine that every day when you get up, you do this thing. You get up and after this, you do some other thing. And include very constructive activities, which could include reading, coloring, it could be music. Music is so very important. And there should also be time, coming on to the question now, there should also be time wherein we talk to children, not really with WhatsApp in our hands or looking at movies. We, as parents, we are anxious, we are troubled, but we should also have time away from screens. So we need to put away those phones and talk to children, really. Talk, when I say, look into their eyes, look as to what they need, talk to them. If there is any anxiety in them, if there's any fear in them, if there's anything that you can engage with them, be a child for some time. That's very important. Be a child with them, and you will see even our own worries go away like magic. You know, so it's so very, and it's a different world with them. So when we have that advantage, we should explore it, wherein we go into a different mystical world with them. uh, and through this, what happens is those fears. This is a very valid question in the sense children are so very scared when they hear about, especially news flashing so many people dead. or relatives, someone passed away, which is very common now. Friends passing away, someone known in the family passing away, then there's this anxiety which develops. So it's very important that you talk to them. Number one, you listen to them. Number two, number three, set up routines, fruitful, constructive routines, which will not only help them now, but also help them in the future. Music is wonderful therapy, I would say. Play music, not just jazz. Not that I have any, anything against other forms of music, but again, something which is calming, something which is soothing. Maybe instrumental music, dance if you can, like put on a sweet number, dance with your child. I mean, you'll be surprised how a child comes out with wonderful, different moves, which I mean, which will not only alleviate their stress, but will also alleviate your stress. So these are some of the things, and read to them. Also talk and address their concerns. As a child grows older, it is very important that you really talk to them pointedly about certain issues like uh, death, and 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 say to them that, positive things, things which are going to happen. Do not promise things which you can't deliver, which no one can deliver. But it's always important to talk to them, the path ahead, how things are going to get better. You need to be positive to be positive for the child. So build yourself up, not for yourself, if not for yourself, for your children. Be very positive, be constructive in laying out steps. Show them the path as to how we are going to be out of the woods very soon, which we are going to be as a human race. These things will keep happening, but the most important thing is that we are going to triumph. We are going to, go over it, and everything is going to be a thing of the past. So think about happy times. Think about more calming, more, like as I said, music, play soothing. Movies if you can, something very calming, not very aggressive. So some of these things would really help to change, and if possible, and again, I have nothing against media, I have nothing against fake news is something which I would like to highlight here, because there's a lot of fake information in WhatsApp messages. There's just this our habit of forwarding things which we don't verify, which we don't know of, and then create concern for others, other 200 people who are really on the edge. So again, let's move away from, if we don't know a thing, let's not pretend that we know it all. There are so many things each one of us wouldn't know. I don't know so many things. So let's not forward things which we are not authority on. Let's verify things, then pass it on. Let's not let's There are so many groups available on WhatsApp. Every one of us is member or members to such groups. Let's provide positivity, let's provide help in such groups, rather than blaming whether individuals or groups or parties or whatever. Let's be positive, because we can still keep playing the blame game, like you did not or we did not, but it's not going to help. What we as people or what we as groups we have to do is spread positivity. So if it's music, as I said again, spread that. If it's something constructive, something we are learning, let's all uh, let's all learn new things. So these are things which will really help us.
Yes, sir. I guess that are very knowledgeable recommendations that you have given, and I expect that Pratik sir has got his answer. Can we have the next question, please? Can we have the next question, please? So Harsh is asking, according to the scientists, the third wave will majorly affect the children. What are the precautions that we must take if they are affected with the virus? Kirti ma'am, would you like to take that question?
Yes, like sir said and ma'am said, if child impacts, so first हमें पूरी फैमिली का जो है टेस्ट होना चाहिए, like because child, if I talk about first or three to toddler or adolescents, because older child can understand, I'm COVID positive, so I have to be isolated till 14 days or 17 days. But if I talk about 3 to 5 years, so in that case mother has to be with child. So mother को पूरा अपना take care करना होगा, because we have to see the माइंड टू मॉडरेट है या मॉडरेट से क्या लेवल है सीवीआरटी का, असिम्टोमेटिक है क्या है, तो उस पर इम्पैक्ट करता है. सो यहाँ पर ये देखना बहुत जरूरी है. सो उसका वही है, उसको पॉजिटिव करना है, बिकॉज हम जो टोडलर एज में है, हम बच्चे को टोटली हम बिल्कुल क्वारंटाइन नहीं कर सकते वो, और उसकी इम्पैक्ट करेगा. हम उसको अभी पता ही नहीं है, अभी उसने बोलना सीखा है, उसने अभी चलना सीखा है, देन उसको डाइटरी उसको वो अभी प्रॉपर तरीके से खा नहीं सकता, वो मेडिसिन खुद से नहीं ले सकता. सो मदर हैज टू बी देयर. सो हमें वहाँ पता होना चाहिए, बिकॉज मदर को बहुत ज्यादा अपना सैनिटाइजेशन का पूरा उसका ख्याल रखना चाहिए, पीपी किट का उसको पूरा केयर करके पूरा. सो यहाँ पर मदर का बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले होगा यहाँ पर, बिकॉज क्या होता है कि जो इन स्टार्टिंग टाइम पीरियड जो होता है, जो बेबी होता है वो मदर के बहुत ज्यादा क्लोज होता है. सो और इस टाइम जो वो अगर वो असिम्टोमेटिक भी है तो स्टिल केयर करना बहुत जरूरी है. अगर उसको फीवर कोल्ड ऐसे सिम्टम्स भी हैं, सो तब भी जो है वो मदर का यहाँ पर रोल है जो प्ले करना होगा, बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट.
That's very rightly said, ma'am. Mithila ma'am, would you like to add something?
So, Mr. Harsh, whether it's a first wave, second wave, third wave, or any future number of waves coming in, the precaution remains the same. You maintain social distancing, make sure the child is not exposed to the virus will not affect you. Secondly, all the basic things which we've been hammering, the government or pediatricians or doctors, and even the WhatsApp has been hammering you about the hand wash, your hand sanitization. These are only the precautions. The other things which you can take care of is like Dr. Kirti says, is your nutrition, because your immunity somewhere or the other is going to be reflected by the nutrition and by your health. Now here with health, we, as Dr. Prabhakar also said, that we just most of the times miss out on the mental health. So the child, if it is taken care of physically, mentally, and we ensure that yes, immunity wise the child is doing very well and it's not exposed to the virus, then whichever number of waves are coming in, going in, your child will be prevented. So just that's the basic precaution which you would have to take.
Yes, ma'am. I completely agree. We had a very nice discussion today, and I would love to have your guys' concluding remarks now. Prabhakar sir, would you like to go first?
Yes, all across the world, this pandemic has created havoc. It has disrupted lives. It has disrupted families. It has disrupted economies. It has disrupted nations. It has challenged us as human beings. But rather than sit back and say we cannot be part or we will yield, it's very important that we stand up, take it upon ourselves that if even like Dr. Amin rightly pointed out, whatever wave comes in, we'll be there and we'll be there to, really fight it, triumph it, and move over. It's not by taking a sword or it's not by taking a gun that we can fight this. It's basically by sanitizing, maintaining distances, not to go avoid crowded places, wearing masks, which is very important. Whatever guidelines, the newer guidelines, it's a very evolving, it's a very dynamic scenario. New things are coming up, every single hour, if not every single day. Everything is so dynamic. Vaccination is another important, I would say, chink in your armor. Please get vaccinated, everyone, as vaccinations are developed. Though in the US, again, we are trying it for, preteens. So again, as vaccinations get developed as they come on, it's very important to get vaccinated. So all these things, apart from all of this, we take care. We don't let our guard down. I know we are all, again, as I'll say this again, and it's very important. I know we are all tired. I know we are all frustrated. It's not easy. We can't do things. It feels as if we are caged. Yeah. And we are. But the thing is, let it not get to you. Yeah. Let it not get to you. Let it not bog you down. Most important thing is, do not forget, these are the similar scenarios that a person in the army or a person who are delivering certain services in remote places faces on a everyday basis. So we have to take up, because this is not about just, it's not a joke, it's not something which you can write off. This is serious, so we need to take it seriously. We we cannot afford, someone talked about how we can protect our children. We cannot afford to let our guard down. It's very important. So we cannot afford to let our guard down. And if we let our guard down, this is, the third wave. We do not again know. Scientifically, they say that it's going to affect. I mean, we have different views on it, like, but still, they say that it's going to affect children. But if it is, God forbid, it's going to come for them, we need to be really more vigilant than we were before, because they don't understand what is hand washing. They go and touch different things, whether it's the elevator, whether it's friends. They don't know so many things. Yeah? Even I see so many youth playing cricket without masks. Now these are all educated. I go to different places and I see them, celebrating different things, whether it's birthdays or marriages. Now, I mean, it's all very important, but we cannot afford to look away from what we are facing. So it's very important. I might sound like an alarmist, but it's very important because this is not a cold or a flu as we have seen. It takes forms which we cannot anticipate. A cold or a flu goes away with some time, but this can go away with life. This we cannot forget. And once a life gone, or once a life is lost, there's no getting it back. And it would be so precious. It would be so something. It's something which cannot be gotten back. Yeah, there's no undo button. I always say this: there's no undo button in life. Yeah, so don't prepare for something which you will be paying a huge price for. So let's not get our guard down. Let's wear our mask. Let's do things which are prescribed by doctors, medical doctors. Let's follow. Let's respect them, please. Let's not be doing things. They are already in a lot of stress. Let's. I'll also like to use this platform to appeal to every one of us to be more human, please. We need to understand. We need to really think about their frame of mind. We really need to respect them for the great job that they're doing. Let's do all that, and that will be my parting shot.
Thank you, sir. Mithila ma'am, can we have your concluding remark?
I totally agree. Do not let your guard down is the take home message. And really, it's not about you yourself. If at all you're doing something not following the rules, the whole of the society is put at the risk. So be more responsible. Whenever you have an opportunity to prevent something, be it vaccination, be it nutrition, be it all that which you feel and is made available to you as a protective thing for your children, please go ahead and make sure you are taking care of that. That's it.
Thank you, Mithila ma'am. Can we have your concluding remark, Kirti ma'am?
Yes, so I want to add here, like sir and ma'am said, spread positivity, eat healthy. If you don't go outside unnecessarily, because break the chains. If you go out, then you can take the virus only. So आप भी स्प्रेड कर सकते हो अपनी फैमिली, नॉट इवन योर फैमिली, आप आउटसाइड भी आप किसी को स्प्रेड वायरस आप दे सकते हो. बेटर इज डोंट गो आउट अननेसेसरली. Stay at home, eat healthy, create positive environment at your home. So अपने फैमिली के साथ एक बॉन्ड क्रिएट करो, एक हेल्दी फैमिली टाइम करो. पूरा 24 आवर्स स्क्रीन टाइम के अलावा जैसे पहले होता था, फैमिली साथ में बैठती थी, खाती थी, ये चिट चैट वाला एक टाइम पीरियड होता था. So you have the opportunity to create that again. So अगर like ये जो हमारे फर्स्ट वेव एंड सेकंड वेव में जो लाइक सेम ही में आपको है रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस हैं जो आपको फॉलो करने चाहिए. ये आपके थॉरोली आपके माइंड में आ जाना चाहिए, जो आपको मास्क है, आपको सैनिटाइजेशन है, आपको हैंड वॉश करना है, सो ये आपको फॉलो करना है। सो डेफिनेटली यहाँ पर ऐसा नहीं है कि बहुत ज़्यादा नेगेटिविटी है, आप बहुत सारी पॉजिटिव भी चीज़ें हैं जो यहाँ पर अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली है। सो आपकी फैमिली एंड यू कैन बी द इंस्पिरेशन फॉर अदर्स ऑल्सो, कि मैंने अपनी फैमिली में ये हेल्दी इन्वायरमेंट, ये चेंजेस आए हैं, सो अदर फैमिली कैन ऑल्सो लर्न फ्रॉम यू ऑल्सो। सो stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Kirti ma'am. Thank you,
Yes.
Mithila ma'am. And thank you, sir, for joining in today with us and talking about such an important topic that needed some insight. It was a great learning experience for me, and I hope it was same for you and the audience as well. I would now like to conclude the whole session. Thank you once again to all the panelists for joining in, and I hope all the audience enjoyed the session as much as I did. There are some questions that were not being able to answer because we had some time restraints, but we'll encourage you to please post your questions on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and we'll try to reach out to you and give your answers to you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today. Stay safe, stay happy.